Hey folks, it's Sam, and I'm doing this update today about the new moon in Virgo that is starting, and it's going to be in Hasta Nakshatra. I wanted to do this special video about the full moon the new moon that is starting. It's the 9 nights, the Navratri celebration is going to take place on the starting on the 9 nights, which depending on how you look at it, it's either going to be tomorrow or actually on Thursday. And the reason is because it's going to actually start after sunset, or I'm sorry, after sunrise. So it's probably going to be on the 7th is when it would formally start, because it's based on the Tithi at sunrise. And the Tithi at sunrise tomorrow, even though we have the new moon tomorrow, is still not going to be the new moon yet. So, but I wanted to talk about the Hasta Nakshatra and the Hasta component of this of this time. And as you see there, I have, and I just put it in the chat. I also wanted people to know that we have a that we have a new moon, or I'm sorry, that I sorry, that I did a free class that you can get that is about the combustion of Mars. Mars is combust, and he's going to be combust for until the end of November, right? He's been combust until he's been combust since middle of August. So it's a long combustion, and when Mars is combust, it shows a lot of sort of like a flashpoint in our frustration levels and other kind of things like that. So we're all kind of still dealing with this, and it's quite combust now. So it's a good time to really go back. If you didn't watch that yet, it's totally free. You can go back and watch it. And it's all about the classical astrological indicators of combustion. I talk about these 3 signs where it will be combust in Leo, Virgo, and Libra, and how this is going to feel for you for each of the 12 signs, and these 3 signs that the combustion will be affecting by transit. So it's going to be totally different. If you're an Aries person, it's going through houses 5, 6, and 7, right? If you're a Scorpio, it's going through houses 10, 11, and 12. So just what this combustion means for everyone, you can just click that. And it's also marscombust.com, that sort of vanity URL, marscombust.com, also gets you there. So you can check that out. It's a very good thing for you to know what's happening right now, so that you can manage your frustrations and difficulties and things like that while we're starting this Divine Mother Navratri. You don't want to be the frustrated spiritual aspirant during the Navratri. And so this this cycle of the new moon is going to be very it's a rich time to set a new course. Every new moon has that quality of a new beginning, and this one in particular, as I say, is very rich and potent with possibility. And I just did an update last week on the Navratri and how it's related to the gunas and the process of destroying weakness and darkness so that we can feel love and connection and abundance, and then we create from that place of love, abundance, and connection. This is how we create everything in life, whether you know it or not. Everything you've ever created started with a sort of act of destruction where you had to remove the obstacles first. Before you can create something new, you have to, even psychologically, have belief that you can do it. If you're just burdened by all of the heaviness and psychological problems of the present, then you don't have any psychological space and room to create anything new, for example. But even in a very literal example, let's use the example of like a farmer. Let's say that you want to create a plant. Let's say that you want to plant flowers. Well, you don't just throw seeds in the ground, right? The first thing you have to do is you have to go out there and prepare the ground. You have to go out with some kind of like a shovel or something and dig up the soil. You have to pull out the weeds. This is all the tamasic guna, the tamas, breaking up the surface and breaking up your resistance, let's say, to something new. You say you want something new in your life. Well, you talk. What are you doing? Are you doing anything different, doing anything new, or just talking about it? The reason you don't have what you want is first your resistance, right? So again, this is just like someone who says they want to plant flowers, but they just kind of talk about it. Or they put a half effort. They buy seeds, but then they just kind of go throw them in the ground and expect that it's going to, become a beautiful flower, like a rose bush. No, what you need to do is first go out and break up the soil, right? You need to, dig up the weeds, and you need to weed the garden first and break up the soil. This is like the tamas part. This is the first part of the growth process, right? And then once you do that and the soil becomes then fertile for, planting and whatnot, and there's that sort of receptive environment, then you plant those seeds in that fertile, rich soil. Okay, that's the second part of the creative process, which would be on the second 3 days of the 9 days, right? The rajasic part. Then you plant the seeds in that ground that has already been broken up, where all that resistance has been removed. Then you plant the seeds in there. Only then can the seeds sprout and become a beautiful, let's say, rose bush where there are flowers, which is the final 3 days, and the Saraswati sattvic guna, right? Where the bush actually gives and actually produces flowers that produce fragrance and that give the beauty. That's the fully bloomed result. But again, you can't get the flower. The flower would be like, let's say, the sattvic guna. The sattvic is the inspired result, the inspiration, the thing that you say you want. You don't get the flower if you haven't even tilled the ground yet, right? Very similarly, like the example I used last week, is that you can't make any change in your life, or you can't, grow and experience any joy, beauty, happiness, and love in your life if you're tangled up in anger and fear and hatred and worry and stress. Once that's removed and you realize that the world and the earth is beautiful and you're home and you're loved, once you feel that, which is the rajasic guna, only then can you grow spiritually and your life become, like the flower, so to speak. But you don't grow the flower if you just take and throw the seeds on the ground and do none of the other stuff. By the way, that's what we want. We live in this short attention span world where we want to, because we posted something on Instagram that says we believe some slogan, we think, okay, now I'm spiritual. I'm spiritual because I believe these memes, because I can post a meme too, and I can take a selfie and I can post a meme. So I'm spiritual. And then you wonder why you're not. You wonder why nothing changes. You wonder why it's still the same things keep coming back. Why do the same things keep coming back? I'm being spiritual. I'm believing these ideas and I'm posting them online. Again, I'm not trying to ridicule anybody, by the way. I'm really not. I'm actually trying to talk about the disconnect between, again, we want the result, but we don't want to do the work. That's the simple way. I see it all the time as an astrology teacher. People, they want to do astrology, or they say they want to do astrology, but nobody really wants to work. They just want the hit. They want the thing that's very much revolves around their own identity. They're studying astrology or studying all this mainly because they want to know about themselves. They want to feel better. Yeah, we want to understand things too. Again, I'm not ridiculing anyone because this is where we all start. But if you're in that situation, which I know many people are, that's why I also talk about this, and you're wondering why, if you're spiritual, why aren't you growing? Isn't any of it making more sense? Why are you still all worried and believing in all of the conspiratorial, scary stuff? Why isn't anything really changing that much? Well, this is why. This is why. Because of the things I'm saying right now. Because you're really not doing the work. So you're not going to get a result. And you're only getting the results relative to how much of this actual growth process you're living. It's not that you aren't getting results. You are getting results, but you're getting results directly commensurate to exactly what I'm talking about and exactly what we're now going to learn and now being challenged to implement in this 9 nights of the Divine Mother. Because again, if you want real change in your life in any way, in any aspect of your life, first, again, if you want to grow, let's say a rose bush in your relationships, right? You can't just take seeds and throw them on the ground and expect, okay, everybody, worship me, adore me now. Here I am. Blah, blah. No, you probably got to do some work on yourself first, because you've been getting the exact relationships that are directly commensurate to your nature, to what you're putting out, you're getting back. And to just then be angry at everybody or think it's because of something else or think it's because of this thing or that thing, that's just delusional. So the first thing we need to be willing to do is break up the delusion and the tamasic energy in our own mind. Again, that's the first 3 days. And then once we do that, then we can feel that self-love and acceptance or whatever. And then, and only then, can we have breakthrough. So in any area of your life, this is the growth process that happens. Again, whether we know it or not, look at anything that you've ever done in your life where you made a major breakthrough and really, created like a beautiful rose bush in your life. I can say, like with my life in my career, I didn't have a career. I just worked jobs. I was like a musician and all that, but I mean, they were jobs. I worked jobs. I didn't go to college. I didn't have a college education. I didn't have a career. I worked jobs, sold my labor for money for a long time. I had some pretty good jobs, but I didn't really have a purpose or vision or career like I have now until I was almost 40 is when I really started, right? But what had to happen was all this. It didn't just start with, oh, I like astrology. Okay, now I'm going to do astrology and I'm good at it and people listen to me or whatever it might be. No, it was 3 or 4 years of like Thomas, like taking a jackhammer to my life, right? And most of the work was internal. It was on me, on my mind, my insecurities, my beliefs that I could even do anything were the biggest things first. Because I never had any success. I never had any examples of success growing up. I didn't know any of it was possible. I didn't see any of my family go to college. I didn't see any of them happy. Nobody had any inspiration. I wasn't surrounded by any of it. I got no example of it, none. In fact, what I got was every example was what not to do. My example was life sucks. You're going to be unsuccessful. Nobody cares. I mean, it was all the negative programming. So the first thing, again, that made for that has allowed me to actually really create at least work and, all of that, like really make like a rose bush, to use the analogy, in my career. The first parts of it were just, again, very painful. It wasn't so much painful, but it was, because I can have fun kind of doing anything. I don't mind the pain. That's the benefit of coming from all that difficulty, is you get used to difficulty, and then it's like, all right, well, it's going to be difficult if I'm doing this or doing that, so I might as well go through the difficulty doing something I like. It's going to be difficult either way. But that had to be the first part. And most of it, again, was changing my beliefs, my scarcity mindset, my self-doubt, overcoming all of my psychological problems relative to my career. I still have plenty of psychological problems in other ways, believe me. I'm sure you do believe me. I don't think I have to convince you very much of that one. No, but in order to be able to grow something, I had to first shift that mindset. Then once I realized, okay, I belong here. And let's say I belong here, like in this career. I belong doing this. This is actually something where I belong and I'm legitimate or valid. Only then, and relative to how much I felt and even still feel that that's my home and where I belong, which is the Rajasic Guna, then you go forward. Then you connect to your inspiration in the Sattvic realm and start to really create something with it. But again, as long as you're tangled up in all that self-doubt and self-hatred and loathing and programming from the past, you're stuck. You're stuck in it. And nothing gets created. In fact, it's not that nothing gets created. That's what you create. You just create more of that. You create more of the confusion. And you look for confirmation bias to confirm, yep, see, I can't do it. See, I can't do this either. Can't do that either. I'm never going to change. Everybody's I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. We keep confirming. That's what we create. We keep creating that same thing. So again, you want something different, you need to bust through all of that. So as it's related to Hasta Nakshatra, that's also what I wanted to talk about here. Is Hasta is that nakshatra in Virgo that's literally, it means hand. There's a whole branch of Vedic practice called Hasta Samudrika, which is also known as palmistry, as what we call it here in the West. And Hasta Samudrika is where you read someone's palm. And in India, for example, if they know you're an astrologer, many times they'll show you their palm, because there's a connection between your hand, your palm, and your birth chart. And by the way, it's pretty remarkable. I had someone, it was actually a Western lady. I'll never forget. I won't say who it is. She's not with us anymore, but she was a remarkable lady that I met at a conference years ago, when I think it was my first certification course conference in 2004 or something like that, when I got my ACVA certification. And she was an astrologer, and she also did palmistry. She was very good at it, very good. She looked at my hand and started telling me my natal chart. Now that's a gift. That's called a siddhi. She looked at it and said, oh, Gemini ascendant, Jupiter in Pisces, by looking at my hand. Couldn't believe it. She knew. And there's a correlation between Jyotish and, palmistry and Hasta Samudrika. And so that is a very interesting correlation between that and the sign of Virgo, which is the sign, more than anything, you can really bring Virgo and its power down to what we would call service and those healing hands. Virgo people are the most hands-on, you would say, particularly as it relates to, I would say, even doing almost anything. They're very much about wanting to care for things, wanting to, it's even not necessarily being tactile with the hands, although that's also a big part of it. But especially when people have important planets, let's say in Hasta, they'll want to literally like put their hands on things, get their hands in the dirt, put their hands even on other people in a, not in a, creepy way, but in a healing way. They could maybe be very gifted with Hasta Samudrika, but also things like Reiki. I've often seen many times one of the nodes in Hasta, or even Mars, because Mars is a lot of energy. When you see Mars in Hasta, there's also that energy coming through the hands and wanting to put the hands on a person. And so, but again, the hands also represent service in the highest sense, because it's the hand that can reach out from within and start to orchestrate and manipulate, not in a bad way, but create and reconfigure reality. And this is why the real nature of Hasta and the essence of this nakshatra is to really take the thing out of, take the thing that you imagine out of this realm of the imagination and bring it down into a tangible form. This is what we understand about Virgo, is that it's a great sign of manifestation and wanting to bring things into a form. And by the way, this is a quality of all earth signs, is wanting to see that thing, a tangible form of it. And as you see in this chart, all these planets are in earth signs right now. They're earth and water. Rahu in Taurus. Then we have Moon, Sun, Mars, Mercury in Virgo. We have Saturn over here in Capricorn with Jupiter, who just went retrograde back. A lot of earth right now. Earth, earth, earth. So this time of manifestation and taking things out of the realm of inspiration, which is actually the realm of fire and also water, and bringing them into tangible form where it's actually a thing. For example, a water bottle that I need to take a drink from. You can see how Earth, the vessel, you can see how the vessel contains the fluid, contains the water. Earth contains water. Water needs a vessel. It's a very important principle, right? These are the two feminine elements. And you could see the earth signs are that container. By the way, your body, your physical body, is most related to the earth element. It has all the elements in it, of course. Fire, like you could see the fire in hands. You could see the blood and whatnot because of the fire and the heat. You could also see the air, of course, especially feel the air on the skin. And the water, of course. Your body is mostly water, but it's in a form. It's not water spilling onto the floor. It's contained in earth. So this is how the elements actually work. And the thing with Virgo is it's the dual earth sign. Again, Taurus is fixed earth, where it's like, okay, I have stuff and I want to keep it, hang on to it, and maybe get more of it. That's actually Taurus and Capricorn as well. Both of them, this is the thing with earth signs, is there can be a lot of, I don't like to use the word greed because that sounds so judgmental, but there can be a feeling of greed. And by the way, greed is kind of a universal principle, right? Air signs can be greedy, like with information, for example. So it's not just but I mean greed like financial and monetary, and just wanting to keep accumulating, money and things like that, keep accumulating assets and that's what Earth needs to be careful of. But with Virgo, it's more dual. It's about utilizing and manipulating and taking the things we have and really creating magic with it. Everything is magic. But Mercury is actually the magician. This is a connection to the tarot, which is really quite interesting. But Mercury is the alchemist and the magician. And he's the magician through Gemini with ideas. Mercury through Gemini is magic with ideas. Can take all the ideas and find and again, magic is real. The universe is magical. Like, you don't know why anything is happening. If you don't realize this, realize it. You don't know what everything that your life is built upon is a complete and utter mystery to you. If you think you understand something, wake up to the fact that you don't. Okay. You don't know how the Earth, right now, the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour on its axis and going around the sun at about 76,000 miles an hour. And you're sitting here still listening to me, right? So the universe is just magical in every way, right? And so Mercury is really the planetary force that really understands this magic and even kind of captures some of that magic through ideas, through Gemini, and then able to communicate that subtle information, the messenger. This is what the highest quality Mercury is, that messenger of magic, really. Through Virgo, though, it actually takes and brings the magic into a form and creates something new with it. So think of how miraculous that is, to take something that's just some inspiration in your mind right now. Again, inspiration is related to fire. And then take it out of the realm of inspiration and turn it into a form, into a structure, into a, I don't know, something like this. Somebody thought of this one day, and now here it is. There was a time when it didn't exist. Somebody thought, hey, it would be nice to make a hat that has these colors and this, that. Let's do that. And let's make a form. Let's turn it into something. So that's the nature of Virgo, is to turn things into the form. It's the nature of Mercury first, but Virgo is where that becomes the big leverage point. So with Virgo people, you always have to be aligning them with the magic. I spoke a lot last week when I talked about this axis of Pisces opposite Virgo. Pisces is the cosmic whole, the cosmic unity, and Virgo is all the details. So again, you find a lot of this taking the cosmic unity and bringing it into tangible form in the Virgo Pisces axis. But since this really revolves around Virgo today, it's really that form part of it. But again, the thing we have to be careful, if people have a lot of planets in Virgo, or even just what we can get bogged down with even in these times, is just a kind of materialism around it, rather than seeing the essence in the substance. So Virgo can tend to lose the essence in the substance and in the form. But Virgo is really that sign of magic in that regard. And one of the ways it comes out, like for example, when, Virgo loves to really take care of the people in their life, like someone who has a Virgo ascendant or Virgo moon or whatever, really likes to, for example, find out all the things that you like if they love you or they're your family member or something. They want to know, like, oh, what's your favorite food? What's this thing that you like? What's that thing? And then they want to set it up for you. They want to make your favorite food. They want to make sure that you are taken care of. They notice all those details, and then they want to manifest that for you, for themselves as well. But often Virgo is selfless in this regard. It's a sign of service. And again, another thing that we always have to notice in Virgo is to not be so humble and so selfless that we don't, that we shirk responsibility for ourselves, especially being empowered. Because Virgo is all of those details that Mercury, the ruler, organizes. And once you start organizing a lot of details, you also start to notice a lot of flaws and where things aren't perfect. Nothing is perfect in this world. So again, I talked last week about the stress of Virgo is this pressure to organize the universe. Let me organize the entire universe. Like that thing I just said about how we have no idea how anything works. That's very much a kind of Mercury realization, but it can also be very stressful and very problematic because our whole life, if we think this is our whole life, if you think your body and your life on earth is your whole life, and then you realize you're not in control of any of it, can be very stressful. So again, this is why that hidden mystical quality, that hidden mysticism of Virgo is to align and bring these two things together and not create extremes. Again, the extreme Virgo is, I'm responsible for every detail, right? The extreme Pisces is, I don't know how any of this works, so why even try to organize anything? It's all just going to work out somehow. The heck with it. I'm overwhelmed by it all, so let me just escape into it. These are the two extremes. So bringing those two poles of existence together is really what we're trying to do here. And this nakshatra of Hasta as being related to the hand and the one that organizes what we do have control over, which is a lot. In fact, it's more than you wind up actually being responsible for. That's really the essence of Virgo, is really seen in this nakshatra of Hasta. By the way, just to understand, again, as I'm talking about the nakshatras, you should understand, and I'm just going to make sure it's clear, that, again, this is the sidereal integrity of Indian astrology. Every text says very clearly that it's Ashwini and Aries that begin the zodiac up here. This, without any doubt, aligns nakshatras and zodiac signs. And at that time, they knew exactly that it was possible to not do that as well. That's why they gave the instruction. It's nothing namby-pamby about it. This is why every book says it. Where it's mentioned, it's always this. Nowhere does it say, nakshatras begin at Ashwini, but the zodiac signs begin on the vernal equinox. No, and you won't find it anywhere because that's not what they were doing. The reason that's important is then by the time you get to this section of the sky, it's Hasta Nakshatra and Virgo Rashi. Okay. And again, the reason this is important also is because you have three nakshatras here, but only one of the nakshatras is completely in the sign. And in each of the earth signs, you will find that the nakshatra that's connected to the moon in the Vimshotri Dasya scheme is the one that encapsulates the essence of the sign more than the others. Like, for example, with Taurus, it's Rohini, because Rohini is the one that's completely in Taurus. Kritika is the beginning, Mrigashira is the end, but Rohini is the one that's fully in the sign. In Virgo, that nakshatra is Hasta. Hasta starts at 10 to 2320. Okay, the first 10 degrees of Hasta is Uttara Falguni, which starts in Leo. The last 640 is Chitra, which goes into Libra. But Hasta is completely in Virgo. So you really see the essence of Virgo mostly in the nakshatra of Hasta. By the way, Capricorn, it's Shravana, right? So again, this is a phenomenon. There's all kinds of phenomenology about this integral zodiac. And But so this is also just very important to understand that when we're talking about Virgo, it's really the essence of Virgo is shown in Hasta, and the hands that create magic, literally manifested magic, which is literally something like, and by the way, that's why I use the example today of the creating a rose bush. Last week I was talking about just more psychological or more abstract, because I was talking about Pisces and Virgo, right? So it was more cosmic and whatnot here. But honestly, I don't plan these talks. I just say I'm going to do it and I start talking. Inspiration, you're kind of seeing it in real time. I don't plan on what I'm going to say, maybe a little bit, but I didn't plan on talking about a rose bush today. But again, because now that's just that's really what's kind of coming through about this time. And that's a very good example of the kind of magic that a Virgo or that Virgo energy would create. Think of how much we do have control over. We have control over really everything important in our life day to day. Just because we don't have control over how it's all working. Again, that's just meant to give us a sense of wonder and give us a realization of the miracle that we're participating in. It's not meant to be unempowering, but we have control. The most important things that we need control over, which is ourself, we have 100% control over. In fact, it's not arbitrary. You're doing all of it. Like I said earlier, you're the one who's cooperating with your past habits, and you have 100% control over that. In fact, it's only you. And that's why you're here, by the way, is to shift all of that and to connect with your higher consciousness. Even though you don't have control over the earth turning and all this other stuff, you have control over what time you get up, what food you eat, spiritual practices you do, what you consume, how much time you waste, how much you're willing to sacrifice for the things that are really important. And by the way, anyone who looks in your life can see directly what's most important to you based on what you manifest. Again, you can talk all you want about this and that. This is important. That's important. What are you doing every day? What time are you getting up? What's this? That's what's really happening. That's what's really important. And that's what's going to determine what you manifest. And so this is really the essence also of this Navratri, of this Divine Mother time. Ultimately, it's spiritual in nature, but we're very disconnected from our spiritual life. And most of the things we're doing in life come down to things like our relationships and our work and other things like that. That's the agency through which we really create ourselves. The biggest lessons in life I've ever learned were mainly in my work, mainly in striving and trying to bring out the best that I have for others and all of that through the field of my career. I've learned the most in life doing that, by applying spiritual principles to real life situations. Also in relationships and my interactions with other people, they're all related, because the relationships with other people as well, again, that's like a mirror reflection that's coming back. So as you move forward with the Navratri, with the 9 nights, you should be aligned with some sort of goal. This is why the 10th day is called Vijayadashami. After the 9 nights, then the 10th is where they celebrate the victory of the goddess over the forces of darkness. And what typically happens on Vijayadashami is students and artists and whatnot pick up their instruments and their books because they've been blessed on the altar of the 9 nights. So one of the things that you can do for the next 9 nights is to put a symbol or even like a literal instrument, like if you play an instrument even, or like a book, if you're writing a book or you're doing a thing, you can put them on your altar or a symbol of that on your altar. And you should do this. Something that you're trying to create in your life. And maybe it's not something like that. Maybe it's creating better health, better habits. Maybe it's creating, what is it that needs to be up-leveled, to use the modern term? What is it that needs to be improved in your life right now? What is it that you're striving toward that you know that you want some help from above? You want some help from the Divine Mother. What is it? Something in your work? You're confused, you're not sure, or you are sure, but you don't believe you can do it. See, that's really what typically happens. We have an inspiration, which, by the way, comes from Leo, comes from the sun. We have an inspiration, but we don't have the confidence, we don't have the belief that we can do it. Again, we have the inspiration in Leo, but then in Virgo, all those details become, well, how do I do it? I don't know. There's this, there's that, there's this problem, that problem. Oh, I don't know how to do it. So then we give up. We stop following our inspiration, which comes from Leo and the sun, and we start getting bogged down in all the details of how to do it. Well, guess what? You need help. You need help from the Divine Mother, because you don't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it because I'd never done it. You don't know how to do anything except for something you've already done. So if you want to do something different, you need help doing it because you don't know how to do it. You only know how to do the things you've done. So if you want something different, you have to call in something different and then do something different as well. But you don't do the last thing first. You have to do the first thing first, which is the hardest thing. And most of it involves overcoming your own resistance, your own negative self-talk, like I said earlier. That's Durga blowing up the tamasic nature in your own mind, your resistance. The voices in your head, I was treated this way, my father never appreciated me, I was criticized, blah, 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 blah. We all have it. Well, guess what? That's in the past. You can stay there or you can create something new. You say you want to write a book or you want to do this or you want to do that. But what happens is then when it comes down to do it, it's 1,000 details. You don't know how to do it. So you just stop. So again, this is the precipice of change. And like I said, when I started, whether you know it or not, this is the process that always happens when you create anything. When anything is ever created, it's created this way. This is just an allegory for how things are created. Again, whether we know it or not, something needs to be destroyed so there's room to create it. Then we have to prepare that environment. And then we bring something new. Like in my kitchen right now, I think I said a while ago, it was when the Virgo cycle started. Suddenly I was like, I need to get these cabinets out. I'm invaded by cabinets. And just overnight, I was like, okay, I got somebody here. We ripped the cabinets out of the wall. First I had to get them out. Then there was space. And I always take my time. I first want to get the stuff out of the way. What was that? That was 3 weeks ago, right? And what I did is I had a table that I was ready to put there in the space. But the first thing is I needed to get the cabinets out of there. And now since then, for the last couple of weeks, I've just had a table that fits right in that space really well. And I'm taking my time to see how I'm going to fill it up. I'm not quite sure yet. So there's no big hurry. But the first thing was to get that other thing out of the way. First, get that thing out of the way. And then I'll sit with it a little bit and see which variety. Because then once you commit to a certain type of cabinets and whatnot, then it's an investment. And then you got to do that whole other thing. So just as an example. So the first thing is to get the darkness out of the way, then create the space where you can rest and settle into it, which is kind of what I'm doing, getting used to the kind of hole in my countertop. But I do have more counter space, which was the main thing I wanted at first. Then I'll see what I want to fill that with. But the actual inspiration was the end result. See, what happens is we have an inspiration about the end result, right? The end result is wanting, I have an ideal vision of what this part of my kitchen would actually look like, right? Just like when I started my work and my career, I had an inspiration that, okay, one day it would be something. By the way, when I first wanted to start to do astrology or whatever, it was nowhere near as, I didn't imagine anything as good as it turned into, by the way, to be honest with you. But that's the grace of the Divine Mother, by the way, also, is once you surrender and you follow your inspiration and you follow your heart and you follow that love, you fulfill your wishes 10 times more than you ever imagined. I never imagined anything this good with my career would ever happen. But it also happened at this extent because I kept going with it, right? And I still do, because I still love it and it's still beautiful, right? So, but the point is that we don't know the end. We start with the inspiration and then we just do the next thing, the next best thing we can do. That's all we ever can do. We can't do something next year. We can only do something right now, like today. Like, I didn't plan even on doing this today. I was like, oh, let me do that. It was very sudden. It's like, okay, this is something good I can do today, right? And so I do it. Many times we live every day, and we have to do the best we can do every day in alignment with the thing that we love. So as you start this 9 nights, as you start this Navratri, reflect on, what do you want your life to be? It doesn't have to be work, relationship, whatever it is, health. Maybe it's 3 things. Maybe it's just whatever, feeling better about yourself, which includes relationship, health, career, whatever it might be. And because honestly, often those things are all kind of related, because they're really just about us growing spiritually. And then our spiritual growth changes everything. But try to have it be something specific as well, a specific thing. Like, let's say, symbolized, your spiritual growth and let's say the reason you're held back can be symbolized by your desires and attempts to want to, let's say, play a musical instrument. And that symbol of playing the guitar or doing this is like a symbol of how you hold yourself back. Or let's say writing something or starting a blog, or I don't know, whatever it might be. Put something on the altar that symbolizes that goal for you. And then on those first 3 nights, you can say those mantras. I'll post it in the comments here again of the the mantras to say on the nights of the Navratri. And there are 3 Gayatri mantras that you can say to Durga, Lakshmi, and Saraswati. I like to say the Gayatris, and you can say them 108 times. Kathyayanaya Vidmahe, Kanya, Kumari, Dheemahi, Tanno Devi, Prachodayath, the one for Durga. For Lakshmi, it's Maha, Lakshmaya Vidmahe, Vishnu, Priyaye, Dheemahi, Tanno Lakshmi, Prachodayath. And for Saraswati, it's Saraswatyaaya Vidmahe, Brahma, Putraya, Deemahi, Tanno Devi, Prachodayath. You could say those like 108 times as a minimum to really align with the Divine Mother energy. And as much as you can call that transformation, acceptance, and inspiration into your life, that will be, you will be then in alignment with the cosmic wholeness. And again, that's what we're doing here. If you see the chart changing here, down here, you can see that exact moment. Yeah, because you can see what happens, the ascendant, when sun and moon, when the moon passes the sun here, even on the 6th, it's not yet sunrise. So this is how it works. It's the sunrise tithi is what starts the day. So it's either going to be on the 6th or the 7th. Probably going to be on the 7th is going to be the first night, even though we have sunrise right as the tithi starts. So anyway, but you want to feel that protection of the Divine Mother. Imagine that you had that universal protection and safety that you always longed for. And also give it to others. You be the Divine Mother. You be Durga for others. You be Durga for others. You bring out the weapons to protect others. Be the thing you want to receive. Be that strength, that fierce mother strength. Many people can find that they can do it for others, but not for themselves. So feel that the universal protection on the first 3 days, then feel the second 3 days, the universal love and peace that you feel. Because once you feel safe and you don't feel like you need to protect yourself, then you feel safe and you can relax because you know you're loved, because you know you're at home here on the earth. Those middle 3 nights are very much about happiness, joy, beauty, love. Then the final 3 nights is where higher creativity then flowers, and you can really see and imagine how that thing that you are inspired by can be a real thing, is real. Why would it not be real? You've seen evidence of people all around you who have overcome different things, and because they've connected to the heart and they've, again, done spiritual practices, they've gone to a deeper level within themselves. So this nakshatra of Hasta, again, is really emblematic of that transformation. And the other mantra, which I'll say, the Gayatri mantra, is also reminiscent and symbolic of this nakshatra. That's Om Bhur Bhuvaḥ Tat-savitur Vareñyaṃ Bhargo Devasya Dheemahi Prachodayaat. So the Gayatri mantras are great. You have the deity Gayatris, the Durga, Lakshmi, and Saraswati Gayatris, and you also have the regular Gayatri mantra to Savitur, who is the deity of Hasta. And as I was asked by Marla, yes, I'll put these in the comments. Come to the video once it's live. This is, once it's posted on YouTube, Facebook, and I'll have the mantras in the comments. The Gayatri mantra is a very famous mantra for manifestation. It's a mantra to the sun in the form of Savitur, who is the sun as the manifested creation. Because we want a happy life of abundance and wealth and prosperity and peace and joy. This is symbolic of this nakshatra, Hasta. Again, it's the sun coming down onto the earth realm and providing for us plenty of food, happiness, joy, spiritual connection, love, in the form of Savitur. That's the deity of Hasta. Om Bhur Bhuvaḥ Tat-savitur Vareñyaṃ Bhargo Devasya Dheemahi Dhiyo yo na Prachodayath. Right? Bhur Bhuvaḥ is the earth, right? Bhu Shakti, Bhumi is the earth. So it's bringing Savitur, the Surya, the sun god, down on into the earth realm to purify, to illuminate, to manifest. And the deity of this nakshatra, Savitur, is one of the what are called adityas, who are the incarnations of the sun, or the emanations of the sun, that are here to give us a prosperous, happy life. The previous nakshatra rulers also are adityas. The first nakshatra in this section of the zodiac. Again, this is also how you can know for sure. Again, not to belabor the point, but you should just understand that there's nothing random or capricious about the zodiac in Indian cosmology. So when you hear me talk about this, you might be like, God, why does he make such a big deal about it? Because the entire zodiac is pinned on nakshatras, and the rashis, the signs, align with them and are pinned to them. We even have 3 different sections of the sky, where the first 9 nakshatras from Aries to Cancer have a certain classification of deities. But this second section of the nakshatra circle, which starts in Leo, the first nakshatra is Magha, which is related to the Pitris. But then you have almost every other deity in this section of the zodiac, from Leo to Scorpio, are these adityas, who are the gods that help us manifest our life on earth. So that's what this section of the sky is related to. So the second nakshatra in Leo, Purva Falguni, is ruled by a god called Bhagha. He's one of the adityas, one of the emanations of the sun that allows us to live a happy life. And it's the god of delight, because we delight in our life on earth. We want to delight and enjoy. It's fine to enjoy your life on earth. You're meant to, and to enjoy your kingdom. And then the next one, Uttar Falguni, which is ruled by the god Aryaman. Then we take that joy and delight and we make it official, and we connect it with other people, and we form alliances, and we get married and things like that. That's Uttar Falguni. That's in between Leo and Virgo, right? And he's one of the adityas, Aryaman. Then the next one, Hasta, another one of the adityas, Savitur. Then we take that marriage and those agreements that we've made with people, and we manifest, and we build a beautiful life. Like I said, we create magic with it. Hasta, Savitur, the deity of the sun, who comes. And then the next one, Chitra, Vishwakarma, another one of the adityas, incarnations of the sun that helps us even manifest more. He's literally the celestial architect, right? So again, we could just keep going, but the point of the matter is again, there's nothing random or capricious or up for grabs or controversial about the zodiac in Indian astrology. There's just not. It's simple. And especially when you start looking at the connection to the zodiac signs, it's even more obvious. So this section of the zodiac is literally about living that happy, beautiful, manifested life, and also not getting trapped in it. Because the last part of Hasta, related to the hands, is to not be attached, to not clutch and grab, but to live and manifest and then release. Release. It's the open hand as much as the closed hand. It's not the white knuckle grip. It's the, yes, I'm on this earth, but not of this earth. So keep these things in mind. And as I said, I just put that if you didn't get the Mars Combust video, free web class, go ahead and get that. It'll really help you, and we'll leave it at that. So you have a good one.